December 1944, Belgium. A frozen road near Malmedy. An American jeep rolled toward a checkpoint. The men inside looked right. American helmets, American jackets, American boots, American weapons. The military policeman stepped forward and raised his hand. Password? The driver answered correctly. The MP looked at him for one more second. Then he asked a question. No German spy was supposed to survive. What is the capital of Illinois? The driver hesitated, just half a second. Then he answered, Berlin. The MP opened fire. When the shooting stopped, the bodies were searched. The uniforms were American. The dog tags looked American. Even the Jeep was American, but hidden beneath the jacket were German papers, demolition tools, and secret orders. These were not lost American soldiers. They were German commandos, and they were part of one of the most terrifying deception missions of World War II. Operation Greif. Hitler's last gamble in the West was not just about tanks, artillery, and infantry. It was about confusion. German soldiers would dress as Americans, speak English, drive captured American vehicles, slip behind Allied lines, turn road signs around, cut communication wires, mislead convoys, spread false orders, and, if the rumors were true, get close enough to General Dwight Eisenhower to kill him. Within days, American soldiers were no longer only afraid of German tanks. They were afraid of anyone wearing their own uniform. This is the story of the 72 hours when the U.S. Army stopped trusting itself. Before we dive deeper, if you want more untold stories from World War II, subscribe to the channel. New videos every week. To understand how this nightmare began, you have to understand the man behind it. Otto Skorzeny. To Hitler, he was the perfect man for an impossible job. To the Allies, he was one of the most dangerous commandos in Europe. Skorzeny was already famous before the Battle of the Bulge. In 1943, he had helped rescue Benito Mussolini from a mountain prison in one of the most daring operations of the war. After that, his reputation exploded. He was tall, scarred from a fencing duel, fearless, and exactly the kind of man Hitler trusted when the mission sounded insane. By December 1944, Germany was running out of time. The Allies had landed in Normandy. Paris had been liberated. American and British armies were pushing toward Germany. In the east, the Red Army was coming closer every day. Hitler needed one final shock. He planned a massive attack through the Ardennes forest. The goal was to split the Allied armies, drive toward Antwerp, and force the Western Allies into crisis. But Hitler wanted more than a battlefield attack. He wanted panic behind the lines, so he gave Skorzeny a special mission. Create a secret force, dress them as Americans, give them captured American jeeps, teach them American habits, send them deep into Allied territory. The plan sounded simple, but in reality, it was almost impossible. Skorzeny needed men who could speak perfect English, not schoolbook English, not stiff, formal English, American English. They had to understand slang, jokes, military expressions, accents, sports, state capitals, the kind of small details no training manual could fully teach. He searched for fluent speakers. He found far fewer than he needed. Only a small number could truly pass as Americans. The rest knew enough to answer basic questions, but not enough to survive real suspicion. Still, the training began. The men studied American movies. They practiced American curse words. They learned how American soldiers smoked, walked, talked, and saluted. They memorized baseball facts. They learned unit patches. They studied captured documents. They were given American uniforms, American helmets, American boots, and captured American vehicles. The goal was not to win a battle face to face. The goal was to survive long enough to create chaos. Then, on December 16, 1944, the German offensive began. The Ardennes exploded. Snow, fog, and surprise covered the German advance. American units were hit hard. Roads filled with trucks, tanks, ambulances, wounded men, retreating troops, and confused officers trying to understand what was happening. And inside that chaos, Skorzeny's men slipped through. Small teams, 3 or 4 men, captured jeeps, American uniforms. They did not need to destroy an army. They only needed to make that army doubt itself. One team turned road signs in the wrong direction. Another cut telephone wires. Another told American drivers that a bridge ahead was destroyed. Another sent vehicles toward roads they should never have taken. Some missions failed. Some men were captured quickly. Some never got far. But the physical damage was not the real danger. The real danger was psychological. Within 48 hours, rumors spread through American lines like fire. German commandos were everywhere. They were dressed as MPs. They were directing traffic. They were pretending to be medics. They were carrying false orders. They were sitting in jeeps with American markings. And worst of all, they were coming for Eisenhower. At Allied headquarters, no one could ignore that possibility. Eisenhower was the supreme commander of Allied forces in Europe. If German commandos reached him, the shock would be enormous. His security tightened immediately. More guards, more checks, more suspicion. The man commanding millions of soldiers suddenly became almost trapped inside his own headquarters. That was the first real victory of Operation Greif. Not a destroyed bridge, not a dead general. Fear. At the front, that fear became even stronger. Every checkpoint turned into an interrogation room. Every jeep was suspicious. Every driver was questioned. Every accent was studied. The questions started normally. What unit are you with? Where are you from? Who is your commanding officer? Then they became stranger. Who won the World Series? What's the capital of your state? What team plays in Brooklyn? Who is Mickey Mouse girlfriend? Some questions were clever, some were ridiculous, some were completely wrong, but nobody cared. The men at the checkpoints were cold, exhausted, and terrified. They had been told that Germans were wearing American uniforms, so every wrong answer became dangerous. A real American soldier could fail because he didn't follow baseball. An officer could fail because he didn't know a cartoon question. A driver could fail because he was too tired to answer quickly. Even generals were not safe. General Omar Bradley was reportedly stopped and questioned. When he said the capital of Illinois was Springfield, the soldier questioning him believed it was Chicago. Imagine that, one of the most important American commanders in Europe, delayed by his own side because a nervous guard had the wrong answer. That was the power of Skorzeny's plan. The Germans did not need thousands of successful spies. They only needed Americans to believe the spies could be anywhere. Convoys slowed down, officers were detained, messages were delayed. Men who had never doubted each other now stared at each other with suspicion. The U.S. Army had become afraid of its own reflection. Then General George S. Patton heard what was happening. Patton hated delay. He believed in speed, movement, and aggression. To him, hesitation was death, and now the Germans had found a way to make American units hesitate at every roadblock. Patton understood the danger immediately. A disguised soldier was not just another enemy. He was a weapon aimed at the nervous system of the army. So Patton gave an order. Any suspicious man behind American lines, wearing American uniform, but speaking German or failing proper identification, was to be treated as an enemy infiltrator. The message was simple. Do not wait too long. Do not be polite. Do not give the enemy time. If he is a spy, stop him. If he resists, shoot. To Patton, the logic was clear. The Germans had chosen to wear American uniforms. They had chosen deception. They had chosen the risk. But the order created a terrifying problem. What about German Americans? The U.S. Army had soldiers whose families came from Germany. Some spoke German at home. Some had accents. Some knew the language better than English. What about translators? What about intelligence officers? What about guards escorting prisoners? In normal circumstances, speaking German could be useful. In December 1944, speaking German in the wrong place could get you killed. The paranoia deepened. Checkpoints became harsher. Men were pulled from vehicles. Papers were inspected. Dog tags were checked. Boots, helmets, weapons, cigarettes, and salutes became evidence. A soldier's identity had to be proven instantly. If he hesitated, he was in danger. The German commandos began to fail. No matter how much they had trained, They could not know everything. They could not know every baseball score, every state capital, every American joke, every local accent, every tiny detail of American life. One man could be caught because he answered too slowly, another because his English sounded wrong, another because he used the wrong military expression, another because he saluted too stiffly. The disguise that had helped them enter American lines now became a death trap. American patrols were hunting them, and the more Germans were caught, the more the rumors grew. Every captured commando proved the nightmare was real, but at the same time, Operation Greif itself was already falling apart. Skorzeny had wanted a larger, stronger force. What he actually had was limited. Not enough fluent English speakers, not enough captured American vehicles, not enough time, not enough coordination. Only a relatively small number of men caused the deepest confusion behind American lines. They created panic, but they did not achieve the biggest goals. They did not kill Eisenhower. They did not destroy the Allied command structure. They did not capture the key bridges. They did not break the American army. By December 23rd, the operation had mostly burned out. Skorzeny's surviving men were pulled back or scattered. The surprise was gone. The Americans were alert now. Captured infiltrators faced severe punishment. To the Allies, these were not ordinary prisoners of war. They were soldiers wearing the enemy's uniform. Behind the lines that made them spies, some were executed. But even after the commandos were gone, the fear remained. That is what made Operation Greif so effective. A tank attack ends when the tank is destroyed. A bombing ends when the planes leave, but suspicion keeps moving. For days, American soldiers continued questioning each other. Real Americans were still stopped. Real officers were still delayed. Real convoys were still checked again and again. The battlefield had changed. A uniform was no longer proof. A password was no longer enough. A familiar Jeep was no longer safe. Anyone could be fake. And that was exactly what Hitler had wanted. Chaos. By Christmas, the situation slowly began to turn. The weather cleared. Allied aircraft returned to the sky. American resistance hardened. German fuel shortages became worse. The offensive began to stall. The Battle of the Bulge was not over yet, but Germany's last great gamble in the West was losing momentum. Operation Greif had failed as a grand military mission, but as a psychological weapon, it had left a deep mark. The stories spread quickly. A general detained by his own men. A jeep stopped at a checkpoint. A soldier nearly shot for answering wrong. Asking absurd questions while German tanks were still pushing through the snow. Some stories were true. Some were exaggerated. Some grew larger every time they were retold. But all of them came from the same fear. The enemy might look like us. After the war, Otto Skorzeny was put on trial. The accusation was serious. His men had worn American uniforms. They had used deception behind enemy lines. They had blurred the line between soldier and spy. Skorzeny's defense argued that his men were not supposed to fight while wearing American uniforms. The uniforms were for infiltration and confusion. If combat began, they were supposed to remove the disguise. The court accepted enough of that argument. Skorzeny was acquitted. For many, the verdict was controversial. But the legal question was not the only issue. The deeper question was moral. How far can deception go before war becomes something even darker? Fake tanks, false radio messages, and camouflage had always been part of war. But Operation Greif was different. It did not just fool maps or machines. It fooled human trust. It forced a soldier to look at another man in the same uniform and ask, "Are you my brother in arms? Or are you here to kill me?" That is why Patton's order remains so disturbing. From one side, it was brutal but understandable. If Germans were wearing American uniforms, hesitation could kill thousands. A bridge could be blown. A convoy could be misdirected. A commander could be assassinated. But from the other side, the order was dangerous, because in war, mistakes are not rare, they are guaranteed. A tired guard can misunderstand. A nervous soldier can answer slowly. A translator can be in the wrong place. A German American can speak the wrong language at the wrong time. and suddenly caution becomes tragedy. That was the nightmare of those 72 hours. The Germans had not defeated the US Army, but they had infected it with doubt. They made American soldiers afraid of American uniforms. They made checkpoints feel like battlefields. They made every answer a test of life and death. And in that brief moment, trust became a luxury. Operation Greif reminds us that some of the deadliest weapons in war are not bullets, bombs, or tanks. They are confusion, rumor, fear, suspicion. A bullet can kill one man, but doubt can stop an army. So imagine you are standing at that checkpoint. It is freezing. You have not slept. You have heard that German commandos are everywhere. You have heard they know the passwords. You have heard they are wearing your uniform. A jeep rolls towards you. The driver looks American. He gives the right password. His papers look real. Then you ask one question. He hesitates. Just for 1 second, his hand moves, maybe toward his documents, maybe toward a weapon. You have no time. Do you trust him or do you fire? That was the terror of December 1944. Not just German tanks in the snow, but the moment when the enemy learned to wear your face. And the moment when an American soldier could no longer be sure the man beside him was really American. What would you have done at that checkpoint? Would you wait for one more answer or would you pull the trigger? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more untold stories from World War II, subscribe to the channel. More stories are coming soon.